Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order, the Police Accountability Committee, and it was actually Chief Foley's suggestion that we meet down here. I think he wanted people to see that we actually really do something. No, thank you, Chief. I think it's a good idea. Yeah. Okay, I call the meeting to order, and I have roll call here. All the members of the committee are present. On the end here, we have Pastor Rich, who is the pastor of the Christian church across the street. He's a former teacher, 18 years?
33.8.
33.8 years?
I'm a math teacher, so 33.
God, you don't look that old.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Well, welcome, Pastor Rich. And then Diane Fogash. Diane is a member also of the Planning and Zoning Commission, and she's also on the Bicycle and Pedestrian Safety Committee in the town. And Erin Turnahan is a third generation, I believe, business owner here in Bethany Beach, so she brings a great deal of expertise to our group, and we're very grateful to have her. You were also a teacher.
I was. 8 years.
8 years.
Yep,
Wow.
8 full years.
Well,
No decimals.
well, welcome. Oh, yeah.
8 full years I was the teacher.
Yes, everyone, please use the microphone when you are speaking. And then we have Dan Rosenblatt here. Dan was the executive director of the Police Chiefs Association. It's an international association. How many members?
Today they've got about 32,000.
Okay. How many years?
More than I can remember. 25.
Okay. Okay. And then, of course, we have, I was going to say DC, Deputy Chief Norman here, and we are so lucky to have him. How many years were you on the force? Are you on the force?
23.
23. Did you start as a seasonal?
I did.
Okay, good.
1999.
Wow. Well, thank you very much for
Happy
being
to be here.
here. Yeah, and then Chief Foley, I think you all know, and how many, you started as a seasonal as well,
Yeah,
Chief?
24 years, including seasonal,
Yeah.
2002.
And the two of them, and plus all of our incredible officers, have done an incredible job this year. And I'll have the chief talk to you about, later on, a little bit more about his experience with CALIA and the accepting of the CALIA recertification this year. Okay, so first of all, for Pledge of Allegiance, I skipped that, I'm sorry. And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, the first item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, any opposed? All right, the ayes have it. The next item is approval of the minutes of the meeting held on March 4th, 2025. Have a motion?
I so move.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Right, okay. Before we get to Police Chief Foley's report, I just wanted to point out that the Police Accountability Committee is a required committee based on recent legislation in the past couple of years in Delaware, that each police department is supposed to have a police accountability committee, either by itself or in partnership with other local police departments. So ours was established by the town council in November of 2024. And we provide advice to the police department. We do not interfere at all with their discipline or their policies or anything else. It's purely a citizens committee, if you will, that's supposed to be doing that. And we're also required to have 20 hours of training, which the police department has been very good in giving to us this year. So with that, I will turn it over to Police Chief Foley for his report. Chief?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. Just to follow through with Rosemary said, we have been mentioned this Police Accountability Committee throughout the state at the state police chiefs meeting by Director Sean Moriarty of Post. He's commented on this committee and our involvement numerous times to other agencies. So congratulations on that, because this is a well-rounded group that we have, and we're doing good things, and the state, other PACs throughout the state are picking up on that. So congratulations to everybody that's on the committee.
Thank you, and thank you for your guidance.
Thank you. First off, most importantly, to me, is our CALIA. Since our last meeting, Deputy Chief Norman and I went to Anaheim, California, March 18th through the 22nd. Our hearing from CALIA was on Saturday, 8 a.m. We were the first agency alphabetically, so being from Bethany does not have its pros when it comes to the alphabet, because we were the first one in the hot seat in front of, how many people were in that room? 100?
A board of like 6, and then probably, 100 people.
Everybody wanted to see the first agency go to see what they had to do, and the questions that were going to be asked is very, I was nervous. I think I cried.
PTSD.
So I'm very happy to report that everything that we've been through for the past year and a half, those uncomfortable topics were discussed in front of the CALIA Board Commission. We were reaccredited for another 4 years, which is outstanding. It just goes to show the professionalism of the agency and our sound policies, proofs, and procedures. So we are very happy to report that. That's number one on the list. Next up, our 5-year seasonal, most people know him and recognize him, Benjamin Tressler. He graduated the Delaware State Police Academy late February. He just completed his field training in mid-May, just in time for Memorial Day weekend, go figure. And he has hit the ground running. Again, being a seasonal for 5 years was a very strong asset to him with his policing. So he's out there on the road. We now fully staffed, the most that we've ever had. We have 5 officers on one shift, 5 officers on the other, and then Deputy Chief Norman and I quarterback everything from our offices. So 12 officers fully staffed, 10 on patrol, the most we've ever had. Our seasonal police academy just completed last week. They had a very rigorous 3 weeks. It ended with our bike patrol class. I don't know if everybody's seen them out there on the road. This is in addition to required training and reading that they have to do prior to the academy. It's 216 total hours to be a Bethany Beach seasonal officer. They finished all their training. They now phased into their 4-week of FTO process, which they'll be with a full-time Bethany Beach police officer through the next 4 weeks. We had 16 approved for hire and that were enrolled in our seasonal program. 1 got hired by the Seaford Police Department before our training, and the other one unfortunately quit after her first week of our seasonal academy. Policing just wasn't for her. So we have 14 for the rest of the summer. We're pretty happy with those numbers. Again, recruitment is very difficult in policing in general, never mind the coastal areas of Delaware. Ocean City has recruitment problems, Myrtle Beach, all Rehoboth, Dewey. So we're happy with 14. A couple years ago, I think we had 8. So 14 is good numbers. We have a new intern, Callie Avery, who's here with us today. She is a Penn State student. She just finished her sophomore year, criminology and sociology major. She's an aspiring FBI employee. That is her end goal. She's currently in the application process of the FBI honors application, which is very difficult to get. She's hopeful to do a paid internship through the FBI next. In a couple of weeks, right, she'll be doing a study abroad in Amsterdam for 5 weeks through Penn State. So she's unfortunately going to leave us at the end of June. She's only with us maybe 6 weeks total. Wish her the best for that. She's been a great asset to us. We're happy to have her on board. I have some few community outreach events that Bethany Beach PD has attended since our last meeting in March. 5 officers, including Deputy Chief and myself, we assisted Sussex Tech High School. If anybody knows, Sussex Tech High School is a pathway high school in Georgetown. It leads toward career development. We had an intern just finished with us who's a Sea Colony lifeguard through the whole academic school year. So something that we kind of kicked off last September, got policies for, kind of figured it out. Interns were very new to us. We've never had them before. So Aiden was our first intern back in September. Kelly is our second. So we do a lot of work and a lot of outreach with Sussex Tech High School, specifically their criminal justice pathway, which kind of leads them into the criminal justice major in college. It's a no-brainer for us because it can recruit local seasonals. Majority of our seasonals are not from the Delaware area anymore, that we recruit heavily from out Delaware. The local law enforcement interest, especially to be a seasonal, is not there. So we're trying to recruit locally from Sussex Tech. We completed, they had a criminal justice pathway assignment where the officers were role players, judges, interview panel members for, it was kind of, how do we describe this? Like, it was like a final test for them?
Yeah, it was like scenario-based test at the conclusion of their school year. So they put them through scenarios, and we got to be part of that as far as role players.
They had mock crime scenes that we were judges and assessors for. There was hiring interview panels where we were the employer hiring them. It's kind of like a practice mock situation for them. What else here? Very good news. Effective April 1st, the Bethany Beach Police Department is back in good standing with the Office of Highway Safety. If everybody recalls, we were suspended for quite some time from state, federal, and Office of Highway Safety funding from the prior administration. We are back in that. This is specific overtime patrols in addition to everybody that's assigned on patrol out in the street. This includes DUI mobilizations, DUI patrols, speeding mobilizations, click it or ticket campaigns, cell phone, aggressive driving, and most importantly, pedestrian and bicycle safety education. It's a total of 200 hours in 4-hour shifts. I believe the math is 44 total shifts?
I believe so, yes.
44 total shifts of 4-hour patrols, separate from our actual shift work patrols, where we're geared towards mobilizations and specific Office of Highway Safety funding to go out and either cite, arrest, or educate operators. I'm very happy to report that the 198 hours of extra overtime that we work, 100 hours is geared towards arrests and citations, so DUIs, cell phones, aggressive driving, speeding, and then the pedestrian and bicycle safety, we primarily educate. We don't like to enforce rules for people that don't know the rules. So 100 hours are geared towards enforcement and arrest, and then 100 hours are geared towards education. So I, as a chief, am very happy with that because it's a
Yeah.
very strong component of education rather than enforcement, and that's just goes to show that we divide it in half. It's 50%. Yes, ma'am.
Was that what Patrolman Ryan was doing a couple of weekends ago?
Yes.
Yeah. Deputy Chief Norman has been out there. I have been out there. We were out working Memorial Day weekend, doing special patrols. It's great. I mean, unfortunately, the community, I don't think it was well known, but the community, Bethany Beach kind of suffered because we had 2, maybe 3 officers working at a time. In years past, we had a specific officer geared towards speeding violations during peak times. So the residents of Bethany Beach kind of suffered from that with us because there's more speeders coming through town because we didn't have the funding to go out there and cite those operators. So we're very happy to be back in good standing with OHS. We've been we had a couple audits through them. Everything, the town administration was interviewed. Fiscal was interviewed as well. It just goes to show how well organized the town, the administration, the police department is. We have been bombarded, maybe a little bit overwhelmed with overtime. A lot of officers, we have a lot of overtime out here for the boardwalk and safety issues, target hardening, and then the highway mobilization. So some of our officers.
I
are a
haven't
little bit
declined one initiative, so there's plenty of opportunity for them
Yeah.
to jump on board. But
So we're very happy to report that. Next up, we're doing a lot of involvement with kids. We don't have many juveniles that live in town year-round. In summertime is obviously an influx. We do a lot of outreach with the South Coastal Library. PFC Ryan was there, I believe 2 weeks ago, reading with kids. It's a reading with kids event with, I think, 3-year-olds to 8 or 9-year-olds. She sat down and read them a book, which was pretty neat. We also go to Sea Colony Summer Kids Camp throughout the summer. There's 5 or 6 visitations that we go down there. an officer specifically assigned to that event, and we interact with kids from 5 years old to 13 years old, show them the police car, get them involved in police work, identify what police officers do in a very, very, very down-to-earth way. We show them our weapons that we can. We show them that we wear body armor. We show them how to talk to police officers and that we're mom and dads out there. We show them the police car. They love it. We do that 5 or 6 times throughout the summer. The police department has held 3 seminars for the public geared towards frauds, scams, and a couple victimization geared towards burglary and theft preventions and target hardening in March and April, again at the South Coastal Library. We have upcoming in 2 weeks a shoplifting seminar that'll be held right in this room by Sergeant Sharp. Remember the training that we had? And the PAC said, "This is great. Sergeant Sharp is very down to earth and funny." So we threw that together. He's our what's his?
Community/business liaison.
Yes. So Aaron, this is probably music to your ears.
I love it.
Yeah. So
I don't love it, but
right.
I love having the
Yeah.
opportunity.
So shoplifting is a very common problem in Bethany Beach. We've done studies, worked with the Chamber of Commerce with these studies, try to get ahead of this issue. Unfortunately, police officers and business owners and employees can't be everywhere at any given time. So we're going to hold this seminar, and I think it's June 16th or 17th, so Monday or Tuesday. We'll advertise for it next week. It's a shoplifting prevention for business owners and employees of what to look out for and how to pick up suspicious behavior from those that enter your store that have intent to steal and deprive. That's coming up next week. We've had a couple interactions with some HOAs throughout the community. These have been meet and greets as well as community updates to residents who have been out of town for the winter. Officer Contorno, myself, and Patrolman Meredith went again to Sussex Tech. We did senior interviews, so this is geared towards their final. Instead of writing a final paper and taking a test, it was a final test out with those that are in the industry. So the criminal justice pathway were interviewed by lawyers, judges, police officers, administrators, geared towards their involvement in the past 4 years. So we were very happy to be with that. They have a lot of good kids coming out of that school, a lot of military-oriented professionals. We only had the involvement with the criminal justice pathway, but we have some good candidates that are going to be seasonal officers from our backyard in a couple summers when they reach the age of 18. Let's see, that's all of our outreach. The bad stuff here, we have had one formal citizen complaint that was filed on a Bethany Beach Police Department officer regarding a traffic stop. This occurred on March 26th, 2025. A local resident, essentially, I'll give you a breakdown of what we can. A local resident was pulled over by an officer in our agency for a registration violation on his license plate. Called in immediately after, which I understand that he was not happy with the stop. He based it off false claims that there was nothing, excuse me, wrong with his registration. Told us that the officer was very derogatory, intimidating, and threatening during the traffic stop, which is not like us, and it was alarming to hear as chief of police. So we investigated it. I think maybe within an hour of the phone call coming in, it was investigated and finalized by the use of body cams. So body cams are a fantastic tool for the public. They're also a fantastic tool for officers, especially administrators who are investigating such. The operator did not know that the police officer had a body cam strapped to his chest, so falsified a lot of words and a lot of threats that he made up. And once I watched the body camera, I think we watched it together, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we had steam coming out of our ears because the officer was extremely polite, extremely professional, extremely courteous, wrote the proper citation for the infraction, and told the individual how he could dismiss this in court if proper steps were taken. Once I called the operator back, the person that filed the complaint, once I advised him that the officer had a body camera and the traffic stop was investigated and that he was filing everything on false claims, he was singing a different tune. So we're very happy to report that since the 3 months, we've had one complaint on an officer, one complaint, and it was unfounded. It was made up. So,
And I didn't make you aware of this yet, Chief, but that same individual emailed me and thanked Sergeant Sharp because that charge was eventually dismissed in court because he did what that officer, sorry about that, what that
Yeah,
officer, it slipped out. but-
Sergeant Sharp did a fantastic
did.
job.
He did.
He did nothing wrong, so I will publicly praise him right now. Did nothing wrong. He was professional. He was very, very thorough and explained everything. I remember sending him an email and said, "Do you remember this traffic stop? This person filed a complaint. It was investigated. You were very, very, the person, it's very difficult as a police officer when you have X, Y, and Z going on at home and with kids and stuff, and you have to act in a different way at work. It's very difficult to remove that stuff from your head and not let it affect your daily activities. And he did a fantastic job with that. And I made that known in an email, and now we get another email.
Yeah,
from the person.
he thanked them for providing him with the proper instructions to get that charge dismissed, so.
Yeah.
Complete 180.
Yeah. So very happy to report there was one complaint since our last PAC meeting, and we take this very seriously. We take it as an absolute heinous crime was committed by one of our staff members, and come to find out this is the discovery of it. So those are the things we want to be open and transparent with, because if, rumors start getting around there that a Bethany Beach officer was threatening and harassing the public on a traffic stop, I will be the first one to say, negate that and tell you exactly what happened. So that is the case, and we're very proud of our officer for acting professional in that.
You have, excuse me, just 1 minute. You have requirements under CALEA for the way you treat those things, don't you?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yep, so we have a citizen, we file this, we're very transparent, we have to show this stuff, that once complaints come in, they just don't go straight to the trash can. We do every steps, we treat this as something severe until it's not severe. And within an hour, we found out that it was not severe through the use of body cams. If it wasn't for a body camera, we had to wait 3 days until the officer came back to work, got his side of the story, and then interviewed the subject and got his side of the story, and then discovered it. But with the use of body cams, it was done within an hour, which is fantastic.
And it's documented, and it's noted in an annual report to
Yep.
CALEA
That's right.
that we had this, so.
And could you just, I digress, but would you, just for the benefit of everyone here and anybody watching, talk about the fact that you do review body cams every day, every morning, the two of you?
So,
The day before?
Use of body cameras are great. However, administratively, through CALEA, there's policies, and now the Delaware Post has the same policies. Administrators and supervisors have to review body cameras to ensure checks and balances. So you have to make sure that you're essentially micromanaging officers to make sure they're abiding by the policies, which is fantastic. And when you do that, you pick up on things that the officer could be doing better. You pick up on things that the officer are doing illegal, not in our case, but in bigger agencies, that's what happens. We watch them routinely. I mean, when we come in Monday morning, we don't even check our emails till 9:30, 10 o'clock, because we're looking at the interactions of body cameras, what happened over the weekend, and we've picked up so many good things throughout the officers. We spotlighted many things in the past year, just officers doing police work and having pride in that on their body camera. So body cameras aren't certainly an administrative "I got ya," quote unquote. They're a great tool that show the efforts and outreach and passion of our officers on their chest. So they're great. We have updated reports that we have to give to CALEA every year that we document them. We do it probably more than we should by CALEA standards. Supervisors do them routinely throughout their shift. They might pick up on, you forgot to mention the date of the arraignment that the operator has to be, and kind of coach the younger officers into what to do better through body cameras. So it's done for a certain reason that usually ends up helping the officer. This right here, body cameras, they're a great asset. We've had them, I think, since 2015 with our
Yeah,
agency.
we were one of the first agencies in the state to have them.
Yeah, they're a fantastic tool. Some other news, I'm going to go, I mentioned this before, I just didn't have the statistics at the time. Every PAC meeting, I can make the public aware of our statistics that we've had. So for the month of March, April, and May, I'll start with March. We had 200 traffic arrests. Now you can tell that usually it's maybe March, like St. Patrick's Day weekend is when an influx of people come into town, and then is a decrease after Christmas. So As our meetings go throughout the year, you'll see an increase of numbers and a spike, probably August, late July, and then a decrease after October 1st. So you can kind of, as I talk, you can kind of see the numbers go up. In March, we had 200 traffic arrests, 33 documented warnings. Again, this is all before our Office of Highway Safety integration with mobilizations. 200 traffic arrests, 33 documented warnings, 7 criminal arrests, 3 DUIs, and 216 calls for service. In April, 168 traffic arrests. So you can see the numbers go down and the warnings go up because we're now doing Office of Highway Safety mobilizations. 71 documented warnings, 3 criminal arrests, 1 DUI, and 158 calls for service. Now in May, we have all our seasonals on the street. So the number's going to go up because we have more staff out there. 179 traffic arrests, 63 documented warnings, 14 criminal arrests, a lot of shopliftings, 2 DUI arrests, 204 calls for service, 1 vehicle pursuit. That was last weekend, which led to 2 use of force reports. Taser was deployed. Excellent display of use of force by one of our officers. The other officer that was on scene went hands-on and effectuated arrest. So for the PAC members that have been in our use of force training, if you were sitting in the passenger seat, you would have saw the PowerPoint lecture come to life. The subject was intoxicated, was pulled over for a seatbelt violation. Was pulled over by the officer. There was a lot of indications that he was impaired. The officer, before going back to his car, said, "Do me a favor, take your keys out of the ignition." The person there's a lot of warning signs that he was not going to cooperate. He put his hand on the shifter and said, "You want to go on a chase here, buddy?" And the officer kind of panicked, was like, no, don't do that. Took off in a residential community behind St. Anne's, a dead end. Get out of the car, charged the officers.
They had their handguns drawn at that point. So you can imagine having your handgun drawn and a guy charging at you. They were able to visibly see, because he was running at them like this, that he didn't have anything in his hands. They were able to back up, transition to the taser, and give him commands. It gives me chills because it's just awesome to see them do. Not every officer is going to act that way. Some poor trained officers are going to shoot that guy. And you know, I just give credit to our officers and their training and their commitment to professionalism, that they did exactly per book, per policy, exactly what you're supposed to do.
Is that over near Stewart's Watch?
That's it.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
because
Yes.
a citizen stopped me a couple weeks ago, or maybe about 10 days ago, and said that she was talking to her neighbors, and they all were amazed at the wonderful job that you guys
Yep.
did. They said to an officer they would
Yep.
diffuse the situation and made it end up in a positive way rather than
Yep.
something bad happening. So that's from citizens.
Yeah. 8 p.m. this occurred, Memorial Day weekend. Sunday night, I believe, Memorial Day weekend. This is the stuff that we like to post. I mean, an arrest was made, the person resisted arrest, fought the officers, and the officers put him in custody really, really quickly. These are the things that we would like to share on our social media and let the general public know. However, the bad news here, because of the courts not holding up to their end, again, accountability is a big term that I stand by and this police department stands by. The courts aren't held accountable at times. So after 12 hours of this subject being in custody, which was direct effect of the court system not doing their job, they let him walk out the door. So there was no jail time whatsoever. He fought 2 officers and was extremely intoxicated. He was arrested for DUI, resisting arrest, and a couple other violations, traffic related. The courts let him walk out of the police department at 6:15 in the morning. I did not want to do a press release for this to cause any, because unfortunately the way social media goes, once you post something like that, everybody's going to bash somebody. It's either the officer, the operator, or the courts. Didn't want to throw blame and have public shame at the court system. That's not how we want to, uphold the criminal justice system. So we elected not to post that incident, because all the comments on our Facebook and all the viewers would have just said, this is disgusting that the courts do that. Did you have that meeting yesterday with them?
No,
We,
I have a scheduled call with the chief magistrate's office about that incident.
And-
'Cause
and-
that, we can't let that happen.
No.
it's discouraging for the police department, it's discouraging for the officer that their hard work and they
Well,
put their life on the
The
line.
officer that made the stop was supposed to get off at midnight. Okay, so he made this traffic stop, and we know that there's gonna be times where you're held over. So he started his shift at 12. He did not go home till 8 o'clock the next morning. So, and that was, it wasn't his fault. It's not like he did the warrant wrong or processing wrong or anything. It's, the courts had him in limbo for over 6 hours between his warrant being signed and it being processed, and that's just unacceptable. Plus, if I'm a Bethany Beach resident, I'm gonna be upset because now that officer's tied up. Like, even if he's not supposed to be off shift, what if it's an officer that's on shift and they're tied up with a court system for 10 hours? They're not patrolling your neighborhood. So, anyway, I'll get off my soapbox. I can talk for hours about it, but.
So, in a matter of an instant, we had 2 use of force reports from that incident, a taser deployment, and physical restraint of the offender who got out of the car and tried fighting both officers. They did a fantastic, if we could show the body cam, we cannot because it's an open active investigation. The case has to be adjudicated for us to show that. If we could show the body camera, I would be very proud of how our staff handled themselves that day.
Well, the citizens, 9 citizens saw you and they thought that you
Yeah.
did an excellent job.
Yeah, I mean, the sirens in a back neighborhood like that were very loud. 8 PM on a holiday weekend night. It's tough to do that when people are watching, and then family members were there and they were getting in the way, and the officers were just very professional the whole entire incident. They did a fantastic job. Next up, this past weekend, we had a company called Guidepost who does professional, I'll let you.
Sure.
handle that.
So the town has contracted with this company called Guidepost, and they are a vulnerability and threat assessment company. They have 16 locations worldwide. They've done threat assessments for M&T Bank Stadium, so the Ravens Stadium. Every year they're looking at that stadium, seeing what they can improve on. They've done Levi Stadium. I think that's the 49ers. They've done some really high-profile events, and so the town contracted them to come in and just say, you know, we want to check every box. We don't want to leave any box unchecked, and if we can bring a company that's got a portfolio like that come in and say, what can we do better? How can we make our soft target, which is what Bethany Beach is, as hard as possible? Let's do it. So. They came in, it was a team of 2 out of the Washington, D.C. office. One is a vulnerability threat assessor. She's done it for 23 years, and the other subject is a retired Baltimore County police officer who was with crisis management negotiation teams. So he's been on a lot of high-profile calls for service. So they came in on Thursday night, so they viewed the Friday and Saturday night bandstand events. I met with them prior and went over all of our policies and procedures, some pictures. I showed them I call it the Bat Cave on the 2nd floor, but the room with all the cameras on it where our officers sit during every bandstand performance and watch those cameras. They were blown away by that. They really enjoyed seeing the seasonals and EOD. They love the fact that we have EOD, and I understand, you know, for a small community to see someone walk around in that kind of uniform can be very, you know, we still have, from time to time, people come up and go, EOD? Well, why is Bomb Squad here? And I get that, but the fact, if you just look at the news, this threat climate is out of control right now, and you can't, you know, it's so awesome that 1, they're available, and 2, they like being here, and they really just add a whole nother layer of security to our events, and so I'm glad that the town has continued that that partnership with EOD. And like I said, Guidepost, they were thrilled to see that. They could not believe that we had, those EOD techs on scene. They watched our pre-event sweep. They'd enjoy that. The pulling of the trash cans by Public Works, they were like, wow, you guys really do everything you're supposed to. So they were very satisfied with what we currently do. I think when the report comes out in a couple months, it won't be necessarily critiques. It'll be improvements, which is nice, But the on-site is the first step of many. It could take a few months before we hear back from them. They will probably be interviewing, Mayor Califf met with them twice on Friday and Saturday and had good interactions with them. And so they'll be interviewing, they'll probably interview Julie and find out what the screening, not the screening process, but how do you find these acts? Because, out of the box thinking, well, what if the act has some ill will? How do you know that they're not up to something no good? So they're going to talk to her about that. But all in all, they were very, very thrilled with what we are currently doing, and I look forward to the report.
Before we go any further, does anybody have any questions? Anybody? No? Okay.
Is anybody sick of me talking yet? Got one more, the updated PAC training. Again, post mandates 20 hours for the PAC committee members within the first year of initiation. We have December of 2026 to get our 20 hours. We are well ahead of the curve, well ahead of the curve. Some updated hours here. Rosemary Hardiman has 15 hours. Erin Turner 12. Diane Fogash 15. Dan Rosenblatt 8. And Pastor Plasinski 8. You have a ride-along coming up.
Yes, he does.
In the middle of the month. Yeah. Again, we are not by any means, we're actually better off than other areas when it comes to the mandated training hours. I feel like the police department has made it fun, down to earth. We're not sitting there, quote unquote, death by PowerPoint. It's interactive classes. We have ride-alongs. We have all the stuff. I feel awful asking volunteers in the community to be here and be present at certain times when we do our training. Those are over, all these ride-alongs and any other training that you guys, this is all up to you now at this point. So if you want to ride along with an officer 3 different times for 4 hours, whatever you want to do, we'll accommodate. Pastor Rich has, he's riding with Corporal Rogers in a couple weeks coming up.
The training, I think we would all agree, has been very instructive and very educational.
Yeah.
And we thank you for not pepper spraying us in that demonstration.
We still have more training hours to get through. Those, it's still an option, still an option.
I wrote to the chief and said, thank you in the demonstration we had with the seasonals, they pepper sprayed the seasonals, but they didn't pepper spray us. And I said to the chief, I said, the only reason they didn't pepper spray us is because the label on the can said, do not use for the children and the elderly. And he wrote back and said to me, remind me to peel that label off next year.
Erin was not included in that.
I had to leave early.
Yeah, so she was not the elderly.
I do. Yeah, I missed it, which
saw
is
what
good
was
for my
coming.
heart. I don't think I could have handled that. Good for my heart not to see it.
So our officers, including our seasonals, for those that don't know, whenever you carry a use of force weapon, you have to be trained with that, and you have to get the direct correlation of its effect to assume an arrest. So every seasonal officer that carries OC spray has to be sprayed to get the cause and effect and see that it hurts. I can speak to that. In July of 2021, a seasonal officer, there was a couple officers trying to put somebody into custody. Seasonal officer sprayed her can of OC spray. I think I took 85% of it to my face. The other officer that was with me took maybe 10, and the suspect took 5% of it. It hurts. It's very painful. It takes away your vision. You start breathing it in. It takes away your respiratory system. I had to hold it together and stay in that position for maybe 5 or 7 minutes with this person with my hand locked on their wrist to put handcuffs on, and then you gotta figure it out. So the training that we do, those that carry tasers have to be tased to see how bad it hurts, to see when you can use it justifiably. Same thing with an OC spray. So we just don't do it for hazing and initiation. There's reasons for it, there's policies for it, and they have to see what it feels like to effectuate arrest.
And for the rest of the committee members, for the ride-along, I have been informed, I informed my congregation, that you do sit in the front seat of the police car. So you're in the front seat of the
We're
police car.
not in the back.
You're not in the back.
Diane, I remember you sitting in the back with the,
You made me
okay.
sit in the back when
Yeah.
you
It was the cuffs, though, that.
Right.
Well, some members of the committee are more at risk than others, so.
That's the end of my report. I do have that juvenile curfew, if you wanna have me address that now, and
Yeah, any questions
Yeah,
for?
just a couple of comments if I can, and I'll be brief. I'm going to be 75 on Sunday, so
Happy birthday.
I prattle a lot, so as an old person, but I think it's really worth emphasizing that this accreditation process that the chief and the deputy chief have led here in Bethany Beach is just really outstanding. 25, 30 years ago, I was on the commission and appointed commissioners for it and the development of the standards and stuff. So there's thousands before. I think the burden is less. But to see the commitment, and it's not just getting your accreditation, it's the reaccreditation process that I think is probably the most demanding. And the fact that we do it over and over and over again, despite the odds, with a smaller agency and the kind of demands is really remarkable. The other thing I want to note is the restoration of funding from DelDOT. I think it's DelDOT, right? The
Office of Highway Safety.
Office of Highway
Yep.
Safety is remarkable. Just the turnaround and the accountability from the department that they've done, the investment of state funding agencies is always carefully combed. And if you don't believe what I'm saying, take a look at the Associated Press news report out of Honolulu yesterday. They found out that their officers were fudging DWI arrests so that they could justify federal funding into the Honolulu Police Department, and it was directed by command officers. I'm not saying the Honolulu Police Department's a terrible department, but these things are difficult to do, and officers are under a lot of pressure. They apparently, and I say that carefully, they were told to drive up their DWI arrests because they were about to lose the funding because they weren't meeting the minimum standards that were required to do that. Obviously, that doesn't happen in Bethany Beach, and it has a lot to do with the quality and the talent of the leadership in the department. So my hat's off to both of you, in particular, and everybody in the department. Callie, you're interning in a great place, but I just wanted to add those two comments, if I may.
You're absolutely correct, and I think the way the reaccreditation happened under the terrific odds and what you dealt with, it's a tribute to every officer in this police department. Yeah, and especially the two of you. Thank you. Thank you for that, Dan. Sure. Anybody else? I had asked the chief to do an update on the juvenile curfew. Back in 2021, as you recall, the summer of 2021, after the pandemic, or at the tail end of it, we had a problem with juveniles and the way they were, acting in our common areas, the public areas, especially in the evening. And I think the way the town handled it, I think was very impressive. It was right on the button, and Cliff, to his credit, asked the council to lower the curfew from 1 o'clock until 11 o'clock for juveniles under the age of 18. And I just want to ask the chief if he could give a report on how that has worked. And now that you look and see that Rehoboth Beach is finally dealing with the issue, I just asked that, could you just give us a report on that?
Sure. As Mayor Hardeman said, July of 2021, we enacted the juvenile curfew, Section 282 of our town code. What that states, from 11 p.m. through 5 a.m., if you are under the age of 18, there's certain restrictions with you being in public, specifically being on the beach. Our seasonal officers, their primary responsibility, essentially after 10 p.m., is enforcing this and enacting it and having a very strong command presence to herd them off the beach. And when I mean herd them, there's not 10, 12, 15 kids out there. There's groups of 250, 300. In July of 2023, myself and Patrolman Ryan, we were shift partners. We were on night works. And there was an incident where a seasonal officer who is unarmed. And I want to note here that these officers do this unarmed. They go into groups of 250 and 300 kids. So a lot of people don't see, but after the boardwalk, bandstand events, the crowd leaves, 9:30, 10 o'clock or so, group of kids, you could see them in the crowds. Now that I'm saying it, you can pay attention. You see them in the crowds, and then they go over the beach. It's very desolate. It's very low lit. We do have security lights out there to keep an eye on them. However, they congregate into big groups, and they're wearing backpacks. And in those backpacks contains alcohol. It contains drugs and weapons. New Jersey has enacted a law, I think, last year or the year before, prohibiting backpacks. We're not there yet. I don't see a need for that right now. But a lot of these kids herd into groups where you can't see what's in the middle. 250, 300 kids. They do what's called an Oklahoma drill. It's a football drill where they line up and tackle each other and run towards each other and physically assault each other. And then the crowd cheers them on. So it becomes somewhat of a mob mentality. So our police officers go in there, and there's groups, like I said, 250 kids, and probably 20 deep in a circle. So our officers, unarmed, go through there, break it up. In July of 2023, an officer did that. The crowd turned on the seasonal officer, tried pulling his weapons off his gun belt or his seasonal duty belt while he was trying to arrest a subject. So these two people were doing, it's called an Oklahoma drill. It's a football drill. They were tackling each other and then began fist fighting, and the crowd engaged in that and turned it on. Officers went in there really quickly and dismantled it, and as they were placing the subject into custody, they got essentially jumped from behind by some kids. We got called up there. We went up there, broke up the crowd. We herded them, and I mean herd them. We pushed them off the boardwalk, surrounded them, and told them to go up on the boardwalk. It was at 11 p.m. My intent for that was because the boardwalk camera is under constant surveillance. So I said, let's get them somewhere where we can keep an eye on them. And if they're gonna, we can at least see or go back and play back in recordings of what's gonna go on. They did that, started shooting fireworks off at officers that were staged on a perimeter on the bandstand plaza area. One nearly struck a town employee that was for the Public Works picking up trash cans at 11:05 p.m. A firework went off, just missed a seasonal, and struck a 17-year-old girl from Virginia. Since that incident, our officers go out ahead of time, 10 p.m. and after, and break it up and get ahead of it. Because of the cameras that we have in town, we were able to make an arrest with the subject that shot the fireworks off within a matter of minutes. So essentially, our juvenile curfew policy, what we do, the seasonals go out there, full-time officers who are on patrol are readily available to assist them in the need that an event we just explained. They go out there and they round up the kids that are on the beach. Sometimes Memorial Day weekend may have been 15 or 20, maybe 30. And then July and August, early August, there's no less than 300.
Yeah, it's hundreds.
July 4th, the whole entire police department, after the town cleared out from the fireworks, had to go up there and deal with it. Numerous agencies that were helping us for the fireworks stayed and assisted us in clearing these kids out. We police it very well, but it's a massive officer safety issue, and it could be a potentially volatile situation in the future. We separate them, and a lot of kids wander northbound when they get to Atlantic, Atlantic Avenue. A lot of them wander southbound towards Sea Colony. Guess where they go is back on the beach, either up Cedarwood Street or up 5th Street, and they hide in the dark. This is a parent issue, dare I say. I have 2 kids myself. It's a parent issue. The parents were here at 10:45 to pick them up. There'd be a line of cars up and down the street, and they would get in it. Nowadays, there's Ubers that parents do whatever they want and have the kids get an Uber to where they're from. In the past few years, I've actually walked around to groups educating them, say, hey, you can't be out here. You're under 18 years old after the age was identified. And just started talking to them. A lot of them are from Berlin, Snow Hill, West Ocean City, Ocean Pines, Laurel, Seaford, Lewis, and a lot of vacationers. So they get Ubers. Ocean City's a very, it's become a very dangerous place in the PM on their boardwalk. So a lot of parents pick up on that, and where do they go is up the beach to Bethany Beach. So A lot of them are getting Ubers from out of town. The ones that our seasonal police officers kind of follow them and just, hey, you guys got to go back home. You're under 18. And we just kind of make sure that they go back to their place, whether it's out of town or back to their house or whatever it may be. They do a good job policing that. A lot of them, the kids, cross over to Route 1, where full-time officers are out in patrol and pick them up, and they congregate at Wawa, because that's one of the only places that is open 24 hours in town. Wawa has to deal with them, and I think we just dealt with it Memorial Day weekend. There's groups of 20 or 30 kids now, lawfully going in there and buying, hoagies and stuff like that, but they're causing a scene. Most of them are under the age of 21. They're drinking alcohol while they're under the age of 18, and then we go out and police it again at Wawa. So it's a never-ending issue. We only deal with it, thankfully, where it affects our staff, Memorial Day through Labor Day, and again, the really peak of it is July and early August. Rosemary asked me to try to get videos, so we have body cams, but in a crowd of 200 people, you really can't see much. We do have a little snippet that Will can play here. It's only a 2-second video. We had to cut it off. We only had to trim it up a little bit so you can't see anybody. This just goes to show, and Will, you could keep playing it. This is a group of maybe 200 kids. This is right off Garfield Street and the beach. The officer was on the ATV, which we use to go out there. It has lights. It has bright lights that people know the police are coming, and they kind of wander off the beach. This is a group of 200 kids. This is the outside of the perimeter, and congregated in that is just crowds and crowds and crowds of juvenile kids. This is what it looks like every single night through July and early August, and this is what our seasonal officers and full-time staff deal with.
If you haven't seen it, I would, as if I have nothing better to do, about 10:30 sometimes on a Friday, Saturday, or a Sunday night, especially Saturday if I'm home, I'll check the cameras, and it's amazing to see that crowd out there. And then you watch them being dispersed. And I said to him, it's a thing of beauty. It's like they push them down then to the boardwalk, and then you check 11 o'clock and they're gone from the boardwalk.
Right. When they
Do a great job.
When they comply with the orders, it's a thing of beauty. When they don't, it's not very fun. That's all I got.
Anybody?
50-minute report. That's all I got.
Anybody have anything? Thank you very much, Chief. Thank you, Deputy Chief. And thanks for doing a great job with that. Yeah. Okay, the next thing, nothing under old business. Under new business, we have potential adjustments / enhancements to the PAC webpage. And this was brought about by a very fine suggestion that was made by Dan. Dan, if you want to talk about a little bit about what you had proposed and why?
Sure. Just in a nutshell, I mentioned to our chair that when Director Moriarty conducted our orientation, he included a section on the purpose of PACs from the original legislation that was passed in Dover, I guess. The language he shared described the key roles we play, advice on policy and training, and the benefits we can provide, transparency, community engagement, and the like. And they were all great messages, and I think we all embrace them. He also stressed that that the law does not expressly empower the PACs to issue or overturn department-issued discipline or to promulgate any policy or departmental procedure. And it was my thought that, and that's what I raised at our meeting, that somehow or another we need to address and clarify the roles that we as PAC members play in the conduct of this committee. And we were looking at, and I volunteered to draft some language, which, by the way, Rosemary slammed down really hard. I'm teasing. She was very kind. And what I had proposed was that the Bethany Beach Police Accountability Committee welcomes recommendations on ways to enhance the operations of our police department, and then adding that the committee is not, however, where complaints related to actions should be sent. These concerns should be sent directly to Bethany Beach's Police Chief, Patrick Foley, or the department. Thank goodness for Rosemary's thorough search. She shared this recommendation with a variety of town officials and got sort of an interesting pushback on all of these things. I apologize, because in some ways, we may be back at point zero, but I think the approach that you've suggested, and I'd ask you to present that to the committee, makes good sense. The concern I have, and I think we all share, is that, and it dates back to 200 years ago when Sir Robert Peel was policing England. That's why he's got bobbies still today on the streets of London. Is that information is the lifeblood of policing. Anything that we do that interferes with the flow of information back to the department could make the department's job harder and harder to do. So whatever we do here, whatever language we suggest here, we ought to be sure that we're not doing anything that interferes with that process. And there's so many different ways to cut this up. The other thing that I think we should be also considering is that our role is to encourage people to bring up their concerns. And how you do that and not say it is a puzzle. But I think Rosemary has come up with a really good resolution. So,
Well, I spoke with Chief Foley and also with the town manager, and I didn't feel that it was appropriate to put this in the bylaws. So we were looking for a place to put it, and the town website contains a list of all the town committees, and it has their scope of work and their mission. And looking at that, I realized that some of the things that you had talked about were not included under PAC there. One, how if you have a suggestion or something like that, to what you do with it, and that was very good. And I talked to Cliff about it, and what he was saying was that that people do send complaints too, as you just described, but there are also people who might not feel comfortable doing that, and so they should have an option. And as Chief Foley pointed out, that anything that comes to the committees usually goes to admin at Town of Bethany Beach, and it would allow for another set of eyes as basically checks and balances. And I think especially in light of things that we have seen recently too, excuse me, that would be a good idea. So one of the things that we were suggesting was that possible additions to our scope of work, excuse me, would be that the PAC serves as an advisory capacity only, which you had pointed out and was not there. It's not empowered to impose or overturn any Bethany Beach Police Department issued discipline or to promulgate or amend any BBPD policy or procedure. And then another bullet point, suggestions/recommendations regarding ways to enhance the operations of our police department are welcome and should be sent to pac@admin@townofbethanybeach.com. And that way we're not actively soliciting comments that normally go to the police department, but there is an option. I'm sure if somebody doesn't feel comfortable doing that, they'd see this as a way of doing that. And so did you want to add something to that, Chief?
Sure. Through CALEA, this is all, there's policies through this for CALEA. We also handle anonymous complaints. So we get complaints anonymously. Somebody can easily walk into the window and say, I want a piece of paper. My neighbor wants to file an anonymous complaint, and we investigate it the same way. Just because it's anonymous doesn't mean we don't investigate it. We find it credible. We can investigate complaints on officers or misconduct through anonymous complaints as well. So it is able, and it is a requirement through CALEA, and we have had a couple of them. Whether it's a date or time, we can pull up through our reporting system or body cameras of what the incident is and investigate it from an anonymous source. So that works as well too.
Right. But in any event, it does, if it came to admin, it would just be another set of eyes, but it would be forwarded to you anyway.
Yeah, I think the town manager, if he gets an email at 9:27 on a Saturday morning, it's forwarded to me by 9:43, and I'm on it by 9:45. That's our checks and balances. And if it's something that I can't get to Saturday morning, Norman and I usually communicate pretty well over the weekend with each other and say, hey, first thing we had to talk about Monday morning, we have this coming in. But the town manager does a great job. A lot of complaints go through the town, and then he filters them through department heads.
Right.
So That's a very common thing that we deal with. If it doesn't come to me directly or through our police department window, it certainly goes to the administration, which is great.
And I think it's good to have another set of eyes on it as well. And I know that the town manager does like to be apprised of everything that's going on, so I think this is just another facet. And it also provides the citizens of Bethany Beach or visitors or anyone with another option. So thank you, Dan.
Yeah, do you need a motion?
I do, yeah.
I'd like to make a motion, we approve the language that you proposed.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, the ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much, Dan.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Foley. Okay, I think,
Any public comment?
oh, yes, public comment. Anyone have anything they want to say? Okay,
I had a parishioner just stopped in this morning who was walking the boardwalk, said he saw a vehicle with National Resource Police. And he had never seen that vehicle before. What is the National Resource Police and what are they here for?
It's probably 8:17 this morning. I was actually getting gas next to him at Jefferson Bridge Road, so I saw him too. Natural Resource Police is DENREC. You'll see a lot of those vehicles in the area throughout the summertime because they patrol the drive-on beaches north and south of our jurisdiction. You don't see them too much in the wintertime around here, but they do go to state parks. They lock the gates up and stuff like that. They have full jurisdiction on the state of Delaware. If they may have been sitting in a parking lot or something, they have statewide jurisdiction. That's certainly okay. You don't really see them up parked on the boardwalk and out walking on the beach, but they are heavily in this area. They have a seasonal police force as well. That officer was full-time, but they do have seasonals that are out and about too, and they usually go to Wawa often.
You probably used to see them say park ranger or parks or something like that, and they have had an organizational restructure of their entire agency. So now they're all natural resources police. So all their vehicles are going to say that now, whether they're Department of Air and Waste, if they're game wardens, if they're park rangers, they're all their vehicles are going to look the same.
well,
Yeah.
that's good to know. Does that answer your question?
That answers my question.
Okay.
Give them a call and let them know.
Anybody else?
That was quick.
Okay, PAC meets quarterly, at least if there's a reason for a meeting more often, we'll certainly call one. But our next scheduled quarterly meeting is for September 9th, Tuesday at 10 a.m. And with that, we have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you for your contribution, and thank you for coming. Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.